Hislop on the tackle. Offensively for Temple, Lee Saltz, the quarterback. Paul Palmer, their #1 running back at tailback. Shelley Poole will be at fullback. The receivers of Pete Johnson, Willie Marshall, and Keith Gloucester. Up front, it's Koss, Reenstra, who's a big, strong one, Gassert, Cornelius, and Yancey along the front line. Here's the indication. An illegal block, a crackback called, blocking below the waist on a kicking play, and the penalty against Temple moves the ball back inside the 13-yard line. Lee Saltz leads them up, and you see what he did last year, passing for over 1,300 yards, and Saltz completed 52.7% of his passes. So they're at the 12.5-yard line, 1st and 10, Temple. Palmer and Poole in the backfield behind him. And as expected, it's Palmer, and he breaks through on the very first play and crosses the 30-yard line. Finally run down by Carl Pelagata, number 49, the senior defensive back, and about the only guy that could have stopped him. From the Boston College 26, Palmer.
Metcalf, a great running back for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's not afraid to run the ball inside. He's only 180 pounds, but very, very strong, and he'll hit the plays inside quite a bit.
And he has done that quite effectively, especially on his first carry when he gained 27. 2nd down, about 7 yards to go. And on the option pitch, it's Palmer who gets a good block from Poole. Ken Moriarty, a defensive back in a nickel defense for Boston College. Johnson, the tight end, going in motion, and the pitch to Palmer. Again, Poole with a block on the corner, and Palmer gets around. He's inside the 15 and finally bumped out of bounds at the 10, but a penalty. 71 into the game defensively for Carl Pelagata as they go to a goal line defense, does Boston College. 2nd and goal from the 3. Palmer, and he stopped
here inside the 5-yard line on the goal line.
Pelagata back in the game as it may be a passing situation. 3rd and goal from the 3 for Temple. On the option and beautifully faked, and Saltz scores untouched. Boy, they set that up beautifully as Lee Saltz faked to Palmer and took it untouched into the end zone at 6-0 Temple.
This first drive is very impressive by Temple. You talk about faking it in control of the game. Saltz on the option. He fakes the ball inside. The whole Eagle defense goes inside with Palmer. He pulls the ball back out, and he could have scored, or he could have pitched the ball back out to Marshall. Either one of them could have walked into the end zone. Great faking by Saltz.
And it was so beautifully set up. Here's number 16, Bill Wright, who's on to attempt the extra point. And it is good. An 87-yard drive in 10 plays. And with the score, a timeout, and the score 7-0 Temple over Boston.
Nose tackle for a long time in the NFL.
That's for sure. 2nd and 9. Looking for Palmer. Palmer gets a good block and gets up near his defender.
You don't have all the illegal procedure penalties you're having right now.
From the 21-yard line, 2nd down and 8. Saltz completes it to Willie Marshall, and Marshall stepped out of bounds.
And he can't get those physical yards.
As an example, we saw Boston College bring John Mahalik into the game to pick up yardage on a 4th and 3rd situation. Palmer has enough for the 2nd quarter. Saltz under some pressure, and it's almost intercepted, and finally Palmer
flying high. BC needed only 5 plays to reach pay dirt, and Troy Stratford, who gained 120 yards on the ground, takes it in. BC leads 15-7. Another Boston touchdown had the Eagles ahead 22-10 going into the final period, and it didn't look good. The Owls mounted a late comeback, though. 2 touchdowns in the 4th. This one from Saltz to Chris Chambers. Too little too late. The final, 28-25. Boston College.
Started and we finished good, but the in-between wasn't too sporty. We had some bad lapses in the ball game, and
we were happy with how we were doing, and we didn't quite concentrate as much as we should have at that point.
Missed opportunities and mistakes was the story of this game. The Owls had several chances to put points on the board and didn't. Those mistakes will have to change next week against Penn State. At Boston College, Bruce Casella, Eyewitness Sports.
TV 29. The following is an exclusive TCS sports presentation. 1 week ago today, Penn State opened up their season at Maryland. On the second play from scrimmage, senior captain Michael Zordich intercepted a Stan Gelbaugh pass and returned it 32 yards for a touchdown. Penn State led 7-0. A stunned sellout crowd at Byrd Stadium watched as Penn State built that lead to 17-0. But Maryland came back, trailing by 2 at 20-18. 40 seconds to play in the game. Tailback Alvin Blunt with a swing pass. Lance Hamilton forced him to fumble. Trey Bauer recovers, and Penn State hangs on to win 20-18. One week ago, Temple opened up their season at Boston College. After opening with a lead, Boston College came back. Sean Halloran hitting Darren Flutie for the touchdown. The Owls fought back but lost to BC 28-25. 2 years ago, Penn State, looking for their first win of the '83 season, built up a big lead. But they had to hang on for dear life as Temple made the rally and almost came back to beat the Nittany Lions in Philadelphia. Would beating Penn State get them to the ultimate plateau in Eastern football?
Well, Bruce is taking it one step at a time. Last year, he turned it around with a winning record, 6-5. First time the Owls had a winning record since 1979. This year, he wants more respectability. Beating Penn State is mandatory if he's to get it.
Now, last year, Temple beat both Pitt and West Virginia. Beating Penn State is the third edge of the triangle. As you know, George, and as everyone knows, Penn State beat a highly ranked Maryland team last week. Is there a chance of a letdown for Penn State?
I doubt very much so, Stan. Good teams usually don't have letdowns this early in the season. And Penn State better not have a letdown because over the last 10 years, Temple has played them as tough as any team on their schedule.
Temple comes into the game 0-1. Penn State is 1-0. And we'll be back to take a look at some of the key players in today's game in just a moment. Yet another sellout crowd at Beaver Stadium, a crowd of over 84,000 on hand for today's game between Penn State and Temple. As you know, last week Penn State was able to defeat Maryland 20-18. Maryland certainly had the better of it statistically, George, but Penn State made more of the big plays.
All right, Stan. Young John Schaefer, starting his first big ball game, hit 12 out of 25 completions for 167 yards and 1 touchdown. Here he hits Ray Roundtree on a sideline pattern between the corner and rolled up safety for a nice game.
Roundtree, of course, a converted quarterback. He was a quarterback in high school, has adjusted well with position. And the other guy on the other side, Michael Timpson, the freshman, made quite an impact.
One of the most sought-after high school athletes in the country, runs about 4.3-something 40. Here you see Schaefer hitting on a 55-yard long pass down the sideline, sheer speed, setting up one of Penn State's scores. He's going to really help this offense.
Showed a lot of poise, obviously, for a freshman as well. If you're an old lineman, you like the lineman. And this guy, who has played both offense and defense, Todd Moles, could key the running game.
Absolutely. The switch from Moles from defense back to offense should help DJ Dozier this year.
All right, let's take a look at the key players for the Temple Owls. A loss last week, Harry, to Boston College, but some big plays for Temple.
Big plays led by Lee Saltz, the quarterback. Of course, Lee is the option quarterback. He completed 14 last week and good for 204 yards. Here he is 2 years ago against Penn State, came in when an injury to Tim Reardon sent Reardon to the sidelines, and he threw for touchdowns twice, almost got Temple back into that football game.
Now, one of the key people is wide receiver Willie Marshall. I know he dropped the key one last week, but he is the deep threat.
He is a big play receiver, too. 84 Willie Marshall last week. Opening moments of the football game, dropped a big one against Boston College. A lot of people think if he had held on, got the touchdown, maybe the Owls would have held on for the victory.
Could have been up 14-0. Now, one of the guys that Joe Paterno is really concerned about is running back Paul Palmer. Great quickness.
Number 6, he can do everything. He can run with the football. He's a good pass receiver, and he is a threat anytime he has the ball in his hands.
Well, it's legitimate to show offensive linemen. Actually, we do that because we're totally afraid of them. But John Rienstra, who is an All-American offensive guard, a legitimate All-American candidate.
They call him the Rhino. Last week he went up against Mike Ruth and held his own. And this guy is going to be maybe a low first-round, maybe high second-round pick in the NFL draft. He is an excellent offensive lineman.
We'll keep an eye on him, and so will Penn State defensive end Bob White. He is one of the defensive linemen that's going to have to be bothered by John Rienstra. And looking at the Penn State defense against that Temple offensive line, once again, the Penn State defensive line is smaller. than the Temple offensive line.
Well, that's the trend nowadays, Dan. The defensive people are smaller, the offensive linemen are bigger so they can throw the ball, and everybody's doing it. But Bob White's outstanding. He's 6'4", 245, and he's the key to Penn State's defense because sometimes he lines up as a defensive tackle, and sometimes he lines up as a defensive end. They move him around, and he's very good at rushing the passer and has a few sacks. A lot like Lawrence Taylor of the New York Giants.
Now, the Temple Owls play a 4-3 defense with a rover back. And as in all key 4-3 defenses, the linebackers are the key.
Bob Pilkowskis here is a veteran linebacker. Not big in terms of size of some other linebackers you might see around the country playing top Division I football. But he's always around the football on defense. This play right here last year in an indoor game at Convention Hall, picked off the ball and ran it in for a touchdown down there in Atlantic City against Toledo, and the Owls' big win at the end of the season to give them a winning record.
So they still count 6 even indoors, obviously.
Yeah, indoors, outdoors, he'll take it anywhere.
All right, so those are a look at some of the key players in today's football game. Big play players all. We're going to find out what the coaches think about today's game. We'll have a conversation with both Bruce Arians and Joe Paterno in just a moment. In University Park, Pennsylvania, getting ready for the kickoff between Penn State and Temple. The two coaches today come from opposite ends. Joe Paterno, his 20th year as head coach. Bruce Arians trying to rebuild the Temple program in his 3rd year. Penn State a winner last week, Temple lost. And Arians, although he feels his program is on track, was most disappointed when Temple lost to Boston College a week ago.
I was very disappointed in the way we played. I thought we had an excellent first quarter and an excellent fourth quarter. But in between, we had too many mental errors to beat anybody, and we're capable of much better.
I think anytime you have a win, you have to be careful you don't go flat, and obviously, particularly against a team such as Maryland, which was ranked so high. But I think that we've had one thing we've tried to get across to our squad right from the beginning. We were going to get better every single day. We were going to improve in practice. We weren't going to waste time, and that's been the theme all week. And the kids have worked hard in practice. They realize they're not good enough right now for they're not as good as they can be, and as a result, I think we're going to play well against Temple.
I think we can get back to 1-1, and we can go to where we think we can be with this program. And the program and the football team are really two different entities, but this football team's got a chance to be something special, and a victory tomorrow will put us back to 1-1 with Brigham Young coming home next week, and we're going to be in great shape.
In your 3rd year, are you pleased with the overall progress of the program?
I thought we were right on schedule, 1 game off. Last year at 6-5 was where we wanted to be. We had to have a victory over some teams that we hadn't beaten in a while, and we did that with Pitt and West Virginia. And now this year it's time to go ahead and put more notches in the belt and get up around the 8-game level.
I think everybody in the East is really working very hard to have good programs. They're building better facilities. Their recruiting is more intense and the whole bit. So I think Temple and Rutgers and everybody right now are just on the verge where anybody can beat anybody. So I think that makes for good Eastern football every week, and I think that's excellent.
How far away do you feel your program is?
About 24 hours.
We'll be back in just a moment. Right on your television screen, and the sky's mostly sunny. What a day for college football. Captains set to meet in the middle of the field. Again, we'll reintroduce ourselves. I'm Stan Savran, along with George Paterno and Harry Donahue. Harry, I thought it was most interesting that Bruce Arians would say when I asked him about Temple's performance last week against Boston College, he said he was very disappointed, even though they played a very good game. I guess that Arians, now in his 3rd year at Temple in the rebuilding process, playing well, but losing is no longer good enough.
That's right, Stan, because last year, Temple's record was 6-5, and they came within just a couple plays of being 8-3. And the kind of mistakes that they made last year cost them a couple ball games. It cost them a ball game last week against Boston College. He feels that these guys have the experience and the talent that they don't have to make mistakes like that.
All right, let's go down to the center of the field and listen to the toss of the coin.
Throw it up in the air. It might drop it. We'll call it again. We'll call it while it's up, okay? Call it. Head. We call it heads. It is a tail. You have won the toss. You may have a reception. You want the second half option? All right, gentlemen, you have the choice of kicking or receiving. You'll receive. Which goal do you want to defend? We'll kick that way. Just turn around and face the way you're going, gentlemen.
All right, Penn State wins the toss. They elect to choose the option. That is Todd Bowles. He obviously will not play today with an injury. Here
is Anthony Young last year, now with Indianapolis in the NFL. Kevin Ross 2 years ago, now with Kansas City, starting with the Chiefs out there. A lot was expected of Todd Bowles. He came up with this injury in August during the preseason workouts. It's actually a dislocated bone in his wrist, and he's a heck of a player. The guy they have in there, Frank Bongivengo, was actually a transfer to Temple, and Frank said last week he expected to see a lot of people coming at him, and he just got that, and the same thing probably.
And especially when you have a strong defensive squad going against a team that's playing on your field, I think it's a good choice.
All right, Massimo Manca will be kicking off for Penn State. Back deep for Temple. Todd McNair is the middleman, and he is averaging 20 yards per kickoff return. Willie Marshall, one of the wide receivers, also back there. He's got tremendous speed. So Penn State, with a slight wind at their back, will be kicking. Paul Palmer, the third man, back on the goal line. Kick is high. McNair takes at the 2. Slight hole across the 20 and out near the 22. Help from Kurt Bernier. Temple offense, Lee Salt's the quarterback. Paul Palmer, the tailback. Shelley Poole, great blocker, the fullback. The wideouts, Willie Marshall and Keith Gloucester. The tight end is Pete. First down, 10. Tight end Marshall motion to the Johnson far side. Play fake. Salt sideline, and it is complete and dropped. And out of bounds. Well, he had control out to the 31-yard line, very near a first down. Willie Marshall, deep threat for Temple. That's his 5th reception of the year for Penn State defensively. Bob White. Mike Russo will not start today. We found out just before the game. Tim Johnson and Don Graham. Trey Bauer, Rogers Alexander, Shane Conlon are the linebackers. In the secondary, Duffy Cobbs, Lance Hamilton, the corners, Ray Isom, the safety, and Michael Zordich is the hero. Atoa Polamalu is the nose guard, number 99. Mike Russo has a knee that he injured in Temple or against Maryland last week. Here's the give to Palmer on the dive out to the 33-yard line. That'll be good for the Temple
rushing. He's a triple threat. Once in a while, they like to give him the option to throw the football, and he is very effective at getting it downfield that way as well, Stan.
You saw the stats for Lee Saltz last week against Boston College, 14 out of 32. First and 10. Johnson, short motion. Saltz, there's a rush on. He beats the rush, throws to the sideline, incomplete, overthrown, double coverage. Ray Isom and Lance Hamilton offered the coverage on the play.
A big tight end, Johnson, in a slot, and they're using him in motion. Now, when you bring your tight end in a slot like that, it kind of indicates that the coach is coming out here to throw the ball, and I think that's what Coach Arians is trying to do right now, establish his passing game to some degree.
What will it do to the defense, George, the tight end in motion?
Well, Penn State will either, if they've got a man-to-man coverage on, or they'll just switch zones on.
I backfield. Palmer, the deep man in the eye. Second down and 10. 43 losses, 2 ties. Second and 15. Temple their own 28 after an initial first down. Palmer. Big hole. And he's got blockers to the 45 and run out of bounds at the 47-yard line. Ray Isom, the safety, ran him out of bounds, but Palmer picking up 19 yards and second first down for Temple. Second down, first down and 10. And this time Palmer gets a couple out to the 40. Zordich, a senior from Youngstown, Ohio, intercepted that pass last week and ran it back 32 yards for a touchdown. He looks to be okay. I've just shaken up a little bit. Fellas, it looks to me that Temple certainly hasn't done anything to surprise Penn State. Just good, tough football, and they're controlling. Michael Zordich, third down and 2. The fullback Poole, he does not get there. Will be Jim Cooper. He's 1 for 1 on the season, and this one will be a 47-yard field goal angled to the left. Kick is up. It's against the wind. It is long enough, and it is good. Jim Cooper with a 47-yard field goal. Temple completes the drive. 11:23 to play in the first quarter. We've got a timeout. The score, Temple 3, Penn State nothing. We'll be back. Jim Coates on the near side. Coates averaging 19 per return. Thomas 24 per return. Thomas takes at the 8. Drives his way across the 20 and out near the 20. There's the starting offense for Penn State. Same outfit that started last week. Sickler, Farrat, Smith, Moles, and Conlon are the starting offensive linemen. Steve Smith, the fullback. DJ Dozier, the deep man in the eye, at tailback. Schaefer, short drop slant pattern. Roundtree, he's out to the 40-yard line. 16-yard gain, 1st and 10. This is Michael Timpson, the freshman, in motion near side. Dozier hit in the backfield. He's going to be dropped from Davis, Kumro, and Jeff Ward, the front four. Smith, Pilkauskas, and Dominowski are the linebackers. The rover back is Frank Bonchavengo, whom Harry mentioned. Bruton, Herder, and Parker are the 3 deep. 2nd and 14. Schaefer on the roll, throwing sideline, almost intercepted and batted out of bounds. Eric Hamilton, he hit 48% of his passes last week, 1 out of 2 on the day. They break the wing left as Dozier comes in motion on 3rd and 14. Schaefer over the middle to Dozier, makes some moves, but too many white shirts at the 44-yard
for the first down.
Bruno, who averaged better than 46 yards per kick last week, to the 18-yard line, and not much room. Penn State good on the coverage team. A 7-yard punt by Kip Schoenefeld. Penn State in the eye with, or rather the split backs with Manoa and Dozier. Schaefer out the flat, and caught by Dozier. 30. Look out. Saving tackle by Parker on the sideline. Finally knocked Dozier out of bounds at the 44-yard line. A gain of 20. Roundtree, because he threw the block on the sideline and was able to spring Dozier. And wide-out coaches love their receivers to block down the field. It's a part of the game that is oftentimes forgotten. Manoa. Power. David Clark in at tailback, out of the eye this time. This is David Clark, Manoa lead. And Clark has the first down for Penn State at the Temple. 40.
In school over there, I think they had 12 players on their football team. Everybody saw a lot of action.
Well, you know, I saw him making up the charts and whatnot that he was from Brussels, and I said, boy, that Arians is really going on a wide-range recruiting scheme, but kind of figured his father was in the military. 1st down and 10. Blitz. Schaefer in trouble. On the roll, he throws it away. Field have Michael Timpson open. Steve Dominowski, inside linebacker, junior from Mayfield, Pennsylvania, came in to force Schaefer on the roll.
Fly, and Saltz was right on the money.
Well, we know he can throw the ball. It was a beautifully thrown ball. I was just about to say Penn State has not blitzed yet, and it looks like they're giving the quarterback a little too much time. Had all the time in the world. Beautifully thrown ball. Last to beat his man. Touchdown.
You know, you couldn't get in there.
Marshall.
Was it Marshall?
Willie Marshall. That is his first touchdown catch of the year. The 2nd touchdown throw for Saltz. Look at that throw. You can't beat that.
And I believe Penn State was in zone coverage, and when you get beat in zone coverage deep, that's a no-no.
Cobbs and Isom on the coverage, but the pass is perfectly thrown. And the extra point by Cooper is good. And Temple regains the lead. A 50-yard touchdown pass. Let's make that right with the extra point. 50-yard touchdown pass from Lee Saltz to Willie Marshall, and that completes a 79-yard drive.
That was the exact play that they had last week on the 2nd offensive drive that Marshall dropped. Only this time there was better coverage. He was 10 yards in the open against Boston College. I'm sure after looking at the films, the Penn State secondary was looking for it. They know he's a deep threat. The ball was perfectly thrown, and he beat the 2 guys back there on the
But I
zone
think,
cover.
as you said before, Saltz play faked so well, he might have held the cornerback just a fraction of an inch to allow Marshall to get deep on him. But these are the things that, you know, a coach does not like to see when you're in zone defense to get beat. The defender's responsibility is just to never let anybody get behind him.
Schaefer to the sideline. Schaefer slant pass. Great catch to the 40 and out to the 42-yard line. The slant pattern working to the other side that time, and Eric Hamilton made the catch for a Penn State first down. Hamilton's first catch of the season.
Schaefer does something. See him look to the right, then come back to the left. They had to rover to the strong side of the field. That's just a quick slant in on the weak side, single coverage, but a great adjustment on a ball.
16-yard gain and a Penn State first down. That's Dozier in motion to the far side. Schaefer looking deep, got a man open, but over
to the weak side relative to the field position.
What a thinking man's position that is.
Watch out here, a slot to the right. Dozier gets a hold. In the open field, the 50, the 40. Needs one block. He's down to the Temple 32-yard line. Dozier in the open field, brought down from behind by the defensive end Chris Eady, but it's a big gain for Penn State of 26 yards and a first. We'll get it corrected as soon as we possibly can. Play fake to Clark. Schaefer looking man. Wide open, it is caught by Dominio at the 10, and he's finally run out of bounds inside the 5-yard line at the 4-yard. Eventually made the tackle.
This is the best we've seen Penn State's offense. Look, a little play fake to Clark, tight end across the grain, against the flow. He hits Dominio, takes it down to the 3.
Two linebackers that caught out of position that time as Dominio coming, as you mentioned, George, across the flow. They were headed the other way, saw him, and it was just too late reacting.
Dominio has 2 catches on the year. Last week he caught one for 33 yards. That one good for 21. Schaefer on the roll, wants to run himself and barely gets back 130 yards. Less than 30 seconds to play in the first quarter. Dozier. Touchdown, DJ Dozier. Dozier took some tough hits, takes it in for the 4-yard touchdown run, and Penn State goes back in the lead.
Steve Smith, I think, helps make this play. There he goes in motion.
Remember, that's Manoa, 44 to Smith. They had the 2 fullbacks in, Harry, and people forget that DJ Dozier, with all his speed and agility, he's a 215-pound running back, and he's also strong. Here will show how strong he can be. Follows Manoa. Smith was in motion, the other fullback from a wing position, and he takes it in for the score.
Another good block by Tim Manoa as Massimo Manka
to attempt the extra point. 22.
Play in the quarter. Pick by Manka is good. And so the teams trade touchdowns. Penn State back in the lead at 4.
Thanks, Sam. In the running back department, Charles Gladman, as I said earlier in the broadcast, not just the best tailback, he's the only tailback today.
He's been bruised all season long, still leads the Panthers in rushing as he did in 1984. Totals right behind Palmer in the East as the second best back rushing, and an example of what he can do right there. Strong runner, finishes his runs. He's going to be tough today for Temple.
Harry, he's been so good that he forced this young man to flanker, Chucky Scales, who came to Pitt as a tailback. They probably love to have him today there.
He's the favorite target of John Kangemi. Unfortunately, they won't be able to put him in that tailback spot, but here's an example of what he can do on the receiving end, and he has 30 catches, 4 touchdowns, compared to 22 receptions and 2 TDs in 1984.
Well, tell me about Lee Saltz. Everybody seems pleased with his work, although his team is 4-5. He throws for a high percentage.
Yeah, he does. He is probably considered one of those quarterbacks that doesn't do anything spectacularly, but does everything well. He's consistent, an option-type quarterback last year. This year, not so much. He's relied, of course, mainly on Paul Palmer, but he's able to come up with the key pass in needed situations, like this touchdown pass to Willie Marshall against BYU. The Owls lost the game, but Saltz kept them in it throughout.
We've mentioned the fact that Paul Palmer will not play in this game. So who then will replace this great tailback? A freshman by the name of Todd McNair.
He was redshirted a year ago. He's from Pennsauken, New Jersey, just across the Delaware River from Philadelphia. He was the best scholastic halfback in the Delaware Valley 2 years ago. Last week against Delaware in the loss, he did rush for 98 yards, most of that after Paul Palmer left the game. So McNair is able to come up with a big game.
Harry, we have an extra burden now for the offensive line. McNair not really accustomed with a lot of playing time. That means that John Reenstra and company are going to have to perform perhaps above their superior level.
Well, John Reenstra is possibly the best offensive lineman in the country. He's an Outland candidate for Offensive Lineman of the Year and a sure shot first-round pick in the NFL draft. He is big, he is quick, and he is strong.
Bronchitis will not keep Willie Marshall out of the game, but one has to wonder how effective he'll be today.
Well, he only had one practice. He actually spent some time in the hospital this week, Temple University Hospital, because of that bronchial infection. But Willie is a big play guy. He's come up with some big touchdown passes on the receiving end from Saltz. A lot of speed, and I think they're going to test that secondary today.
You talked about the offensive line. They're not only big and strong, they're pretty, aren't they?
Well, here it is, the Heavy Metal Society. If we can get a shot of this, this is the Temple program today. There's a look at the beef up front. John Reenstra and company, and behind them on the front end loader is Lee Saltz in his backfield. But the Owls are pretty proud of that offensive line. They think it's one of the best in college football, Sam.
Okay, let's take a look at defense now. You know, Pitt's had some great linebackers over the years. Hugh Green, Ricky Jackson, to name a couple. They think Tony Woods, as a stand-up defensive end, is as good as any football player that's played at the university at this level, at this particular stage of his career.
Well, as far as Bruce Arians is concerned, he is the best defensive lineman the Owls will see this season. You took my words right away from me there when you said he's in the Hugh Green class. He leads them in sacks, I think unassisted tackles. So Woods here is definitely an All-American.
They have 2 inside linebackers. One of them is Steve Apke, who leads the team in tackles. But not only that, he plays at a feverish pitch almost throughout the ballgame.
Well, I was going to say, Coach Fazio says he's kind of like the bull in the china shop, right? I mean, He is consistent, but he also plays with that reckless abandon. He's all over the football, makes up for what he lacks maybe in size, but a lot of determination, and once in a while gets maybe a little bit out of control, but sometimes coaches like that.
Harry, the secondary has been vulnerable for Pitt. That's not a secret, but this man has been a steadying force if there's anyone back there who does.
Consistency, I think, is the one word that will describe Bill Callahan. As you said, he's the veteran back there. They rely for him for a lot of leadership. He's going to be tested, though, today in terms of watching out for Keith Gloucester and Willie Marshall, the speedy wide receivers for the Owls.
We talked about Apke. Let it not be said that Temple doesn't have some great inside linebackers as well. Bob Pilkowskis is one of them.
Very much like Apke. Not real big, but he's up there in tackles for the team. He also is able to get in on the quarterback, and he's a local kid, and he is the type of player that Bruce Arians sought to build this Temple program. And as we can see here, he's able to get a little bit of speed out of that 6'1" frame, but he gives it 150% effort.
We always enjoy talking about student athletes. John Smith is just what the title implies. He is an excellent student here.
Another local product out of Penn Charter High School in Philadelphia. We saw him make a big interception against Rutgers to help save that victory for the Owls 1 month ago. He's also one of the Owls' leading tacklers. Not a very big linebacker, but he's got a lot of speed.
And this man missed the first 3 games of the year, but he's back in full stride. He is a strong safety, Todd Bowles.
He's still carrying around the extra luggage, though, Sam. He's got that cast that he's going to be wearing to protect that broken right hand. He broke it in the preseason. Bruce Arians thinks, though, he's back almost to 100%. He still has the cast. Last week he did get his first interception, but it also cost him an interception when it bounced off the plaster.
Well, despite their respective records, Pitt is 4-4-1 and Temple's 4-5. We think we have the makings of an outstanding college football game. We'll be back with more of our pregame report from the Vet in Philadelphia right after this. Won the toss of the coin and elected to receive and defend the goal to our left. And as a result of that, number 16 for the Temple Owls will be doing the kicking off. That is Bill Wright. And the Panthers will now deploy in their receiving positions with Keith Tinsley, number 20, awaiting the out for the coin flip, this being their last home game. They close out in West Virginia next Saturday. So, good to have you along the way. Ready for college football today. Temple kicking off the Pitt, and here we go. And Wright kicks it high and short, taken on the far side of the field at the 8-yard line by Christopher Ross. He's still on his feet up to the 20, 25, and rolls forward to the from the I formation. And the give is to Gladman off his own left tackle. Skips to the 35 and is knocked down as he reaches the 36-yard line. The tackle there is made to the wide receivers. Jimmy back to throw his first pass of the day. Stays in the pocket, throws it short to Brown, and he is tackled short of the first down. Good. It is 3rd down and short yardage now for Pitt.
Reminiscent so much. The same play virtually that set up the winning field goal last year against Pitt. Same combination. Here's Saltz laying it out there. Perfect pass right into the hands. On the run, Willie Marshall never broke stride. And just here gets tripped up. Otherwise, he's got 6 points.
He beat Terrell Austin in one-on-one coverage and goes down at the 1-yard line. So the play covers 79 yards. And maybe that's why Lee Saltz's statistics are so gaudy.
Well, that will take the pressure off of Todd McNair a little bit, right, to get the running game established.
Indeed. So Marshall accepting the congratulations. The Temple has called for a timeout here. I think they got so excited with the play that they didn't know what to do on 2nd down and goal.
Instead of 2nd and short,
yeah, right?
It's a short yardage situation. Instead of trying to get a first down, they're trying to get for this, though, Sam, because, as I said, they have done this before. Open up with this big play opportunity, and they know that Marshall's a big play receiver. He's got good speed, good size, and the pass was just perfectly thrown by Lee Saltz. And except for that little trip up there, Pitt would have been in an early hole here against Temple.
Well, the Panthers might have been lulled into a false sense of security hearing all week that Willie Marshall had a bronchitis condition that had left him weakened, but he hardly looked like a weakened receiver on that particular play. And it was laid out there beautifully by Saltz. So it's 1st down and goal to goal. The Temple Owls now, and Pitt certainly with its back to the wall in the first series. Quarterback sneak, Lee Saltz, and let's see. I don't know whether they're going to allow it or not. I guess he just reached the goal line, but he
keep it. I'm going to angle a little bit to the left where he's got big number 70, John Rienstra, his All-American guard at that left guard spot, and on that left side, Eric Koss, 67, the left tackle. He's from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh.
Sapio, Johnson, Atia, Bukowski, Tony Woods digging in, and touchdown Temple.
Well, that's what he did. Left side behind Rienstra and Eric Koss, and the Owls are on the board first at 6-0.
They've been down there a few times this year, the Temple Owls, and have come away with nothing. And this time, I think Bruce Arians just decided, I'll let my quarterback keep it 4 times if I have to. But Saltz goes in, standing up for the touchdown on the keeper. And so Temple's drive covers 80 yards in 3 plays. And this is Bill White attempting the field goal, the extra point, I beg your pardon. There's the placement. And the kick is up. And it is good, but a 5-yard walk-off will presumably come on the...
Keith Foster was there. Receivers are trained to do to come back whenever a quarterback...
Second down and 10. And this time they stay on the ground. And Dennis Akia grabs...
Time we have seen him this afternoon. Stop Todd McNair in the blocks, actually behind the line of scrimmage. So a little strategy going on here. A little bit of the chess game between these two coaches, using up timeouts here to save some time. A 3-pointer or trying to get in for 6 points. There's the Panther in the sunlight here at Veterans Stadium.
Harry, you were talking earlier about how Pitt had outscored Temple since 1975 by an overwhelming margin. Actually, in the 15 games that they've played previously, Pitt has outscored Temple 414 to 106
against the Rush National.
Third down and 10. Pitt wanting to hold here to get the ball back again. Saltz airs it out, and it's caught in a nope. They say he caught it out of bounds, but wasn't that a great effort by Willie Marshall? You won't see any better than that. Ducky Lewis with the coverage. He almost turned Marshall inside out, but Willie never lost his concentration.
And Willie Marshall has improved so much on concentration and holding on to the football. Here he knows he's going to get creamed after making that catch. And actually there, I think maybe an argument could be made about the defender coming up and forcing the receiver out of bounds, because Marshall went up a couple yards from the sidelines, and I think that's what Bruce Arians is so upset about there with the...
Him to run after it. Downfield, this one is... As Saltz has had himself a very, very good first half. Most of the yardage coming on a 79-yard bomb to start the game to Willie Marshall. We have played one half at the Vet in Philadelphia. The score is Temple 17 and 14 Temple at halftime, 17-14 Temple at the end of 3. But then Darnell Stone on a 3-yard run in the fourth quarter, diving over the top, got Pitt the victory, 21-17 the final score. Then the defense did the job in holding Lee Saltz deep in his own end when he tried to bring him back. And they completed a 4th down pass with Jerry Olszewski with a good tackle, stopping the receiver short of the first down. As you look at the final stats in this game, anything jump up?